NOAA began firing probationary employees en masse, even though famous Alabama meteorologist James Spann, who is never political, came out strongly against such cuts at NOAA and the NWS.
Let's go ahead and jump right into last week in Southern labor. Here's what workers in the U.S. South and the American colonies were up to from February 21st to the 28th. In new union campaigns, 36 workers at Reworld Waste in Tampa, Florida, filed a petition to hold a union election with the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, IBEW, Local 108. 13 workers at Impanola in New Orleans, Louisiana, filed a petition to hold a union election with the Teamsters, Local 270. 95 workers at Dagcor Aluminum in Chavez, Kentucky, filed a petition to hold a union election with the United Steelworkers, USW. 83 workers at the Southern Electric Corporation in Pembroke Pines, Florida, filed a petition to hold a union election with IBEW Local 222. The employer filed a petition to hold a union election after a majority of the 6 workers at K and Associates in New Orleans, Louisiana, demonstrated support for unionization with IUE-CWA, the CWA's industrial division. 220 workers at Genesis Logistics in Stafford, Virginia, filed a petition to hold a union election with the Teamsters, Local 322, and 25 workers at the North Carolina Association of Educators in Raleigh, North Carolina, filed a petition to hold a union election with the National Staff Organization. In election results, for the first time in a long time, very, very bleak news. As far as I can tell, 0 workers won union campaigns anywhere across the South last week. 72 workers at Sherwin-Williams in Birmingham, Alabama, filed a petition to hold a union election with the International Brotherhood of Boilermakers, IBB, but then withdrew the petition in the same week. 13 workers at King and George in Louisville, Kentucky, withdrew their petition for a union election with the United Association of Plumbers and Steamfitters, UA, Local 184. 13 workers at McAllister Oil in Memphis, Tennessee, voted 3-9 against unionization with the Teamsters, Local 667, and 21 workers at Greenlight Dispensary in Harrisonville, Missouri, voted 5-13 against unionization with the Teamsters, Local 955. That one was very surprising because the dispensary elections have historically been very, very lopsidedly pro-union, so kind of surprised to see that lost. Wonder what happened there. In grievances, unfair labor practices, and court cases, rideshare drivers in Tennessee, organized with the Tennessee Drivers Union, are alleging that the Nashville Transit Authority has barred 34 drivers from servicing the airport after they participated in a peaceful demonstration protesting their low pay. An Alabama lunchroom worker was fired after accepting donations to feed students, allegedly because she lied about the collecting of donations, but there is, for the record, no allegation of any sort of theft or embezzlement from the employer or from people donating. A federal judge ruled that the Office of Personnel Management, OPM, does not have the authority to direct agencies to fire probationary workers since Congress gave that authority to the agencies themselves. The federal judge ordered OPM to rescind said directive and further ordered that the Department of Defense not go forward with plans to fire probationary employees that was scheduled to be executed yesterday. Additionally, the Office of Special Counsel, OSC, not to be confused with, Special Counsel Robert Mueller or whatever. This is a standing office within the executive department that is responsible for investigating illegal actions taken against federal workers. The Office of Special Counsel also found that 6 employees were fired illegally. This comes after the leader of the OSC was fired by Trump, but a court overturned his firing. The Merit Systems Protections Board, where a court has also overturned the Trump firing of the Merit Systems Protection Board MSPB chair, will enforce the decision. And now the attorneys for the plaintiffs are seeking to expand this temporary relief of having these employees reinstated for at least 45 days while the complaint concludes. The attorneys for the plaintiffs are seeking to expand this relief to all similarly situated probationary employees who have been fired. However, On the same day as the federal court ruling, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, began firing probationary employees en masse anyways, even though famous Alabama meteorologist James Spann, who is never political, came out strongly against such cuts at NOAA and the NWS. The cuts are expected to affect between 600 and 1,800 employees nationwide. Hey, 5 seconds. Just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate. In strikes and bargaining updates, members of the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, IAMAW Local 1296, who manufacture large commercial heating and air units at Train Technologies in Clarksville, Tennessee, ratified a new 4-year collective bargaining agreement that includes wage increases, including 9.3% wage increases in year 1, increases paid time off, and increases protections against mandatory overtime and more, according to the union. Members of the IAMAW Local Lodge 44, who work for United Launch Alliance here in Decatur, Alabama, meanwhile, voted to authorize a strike by 100% as their negotiating committee heads into bargaining with the company. Video game workers at ZeniMax, including in Texas, who are unionized with ZeniMax Workers United CWA, protested last week and held an informational picket to demand progress in bargaining for a first contract with the Microsoft subsidiary. 100 pharmacies across the state of Alabama walked off the job last week to support a bill that would reform, quote, pharmacy benefit managers, or PBMs, which pharmacists say are harming the industry. Hundreds of drivers for 10 roads, including those in North Carolina, unionized with the Teamsters, are on strike against the company over their bad faith bargaining. 10 Roads is one of the largest contractors for the U.S. Postal Service. The National Association of Letter Carriers, NALC, is now calling on local branches to organize rallies to oppose the dismantling of the Postal Service on Sunday, March 23rd. The members of the International Longshore Association, ILA, ratified the agreement, which increased wages by 62% by a whopping 99% margin. Really excited for those folks. Rail machinists in the International Association of Machinists District Lodge 19 ratified a new contract by 67%. The new contract includes wage increases, increased overtime, vacation time, and more, according to the union. In political and legislative updates, Florida's legislative session begins next week, and Republicans have filed several bills to make the lives of workers worse. Specifically, they have filed bills to make unionization more difficult for public sector workers, make it easier to decertify public sector unions, further weaken child labor laws, and allow apprentices and interns to be paid less than the state minimum wage. Several of these are ALEC bills, and the Center for Media and Democracy has a good explainer on their agenda for state legislatures in 2025. It's bad, is the TLDR. The Kentucky Center for Economic Policy has an explainer out on HB 398 in the Kentucky House, which would significantly cut back on worker safety protections in the state. The U.S. House and Senate passed budget resolutions that lay the groundwork for tax cuts for wealthy folks and spending cuts for poor folks. Multiple unions have issued statements opposing the resolutions. In Alabama's Rocket City, the return to office order is already having an effect on traffic, with 15% more traffic around the arsenal. This is also requiring the arsenal to hire more gate guards. As a reminder, all the evidence points to telework being as or more productive than in-office work for those eligible. More DOGE effects in Alabama include the closure of 3 rural Social Security offices, the closure of Mobile's EEOC office, the firing of probationary employees at the Social Security Administration in Birmingham, and more. The Alabama Reflector interviewed a Department of Education employee in Birmingham who was part of the probationary firings. DOGE cuts are even extending to prison guards, where the U.S. Bureau of Prisons last week told employees to expect pay cuts of anywhere between 10 and 25%. Wow. Bernie Sanders introduced a bill that would fully fund Social Security for 75 years while raising cost of living adjustments and increasing benefits across the board. The increased expenditures would have been funded by simply removing the cap on Social Security taxes, making millionaires and billionaires pay the same Social Security taxes you do. But the bill was blocked from even receiving a vote by Republicans. Trump nominated Wayne Palmer to lead the Mine Safety and Health Administration. Palmer has made frequent use of the revolving door, moving from regulatory jobs in the government to positions for employer organizations and back again. Business groups applauded the decision, of course, including groups that have explicitly lobbied in favor of eliminating a new rule limiting the amount of allowable silica dust in coal mines. As a reminder, silica dust in coal mines has led to a significant increase in the rate of black lung among miners, and if the rule is rolled back before it's ever able to be properly implemented, this will no doubt increase further. In internal union updates, after huge drops in the stock price of Tesla of like 30% or more, the American Federation of Teachers has sent letters to managers of their pension funds urging them to immediately review their holdings of Tesla stock and explore options to protect AFT pensioners. That's it for our labor updates. If we missed anything, let us know at tvlr.fm/contact.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.